Well, welcome to the show. It's New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, and my co-host today, I'm going to stop calling him a guest, is Michael J. Allen. Michael, welcome to the show again, and we're going to make this an ongoing thing.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, great to be here.
You know, it's really been wonderful having you on the show and the things we've been talking about. But as we've talked about things, Michael, I realize there's so much more that we need to talk about, you know. So today, we're going to kind of do a free form, just a stream of consciousness, new thought, psychology, working with young people, however you want to take it. Where do you feel like opening up at? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, I'm right here in this body, on the spot. You know, here's the spot. If I were to start with anything, I'd start with, you know, really the truth of who I am. I'm a spiritual being. I'm a soul in a body, and there's a lot that defines those words I just shared. But that's the highest part of me. That's my higher self. That's the part of me that's never been hurt. That is connected to spirit. That's
right.
The part of me that is not in the world. It's inside my being. It's my inner being.
You know, and that is what we might call truth. You know, I do call that truth. But it's also power, personal power, when we come to that point of realization of how you just outlined the truth of what you are. We are spiritual beings. That as spiritual beings, we've never been harmed. We've never been judged. We never will be. We'll never be anything other than the divine perfection that we are a part of and that created us. Getting people to understand that is what we do in New Thought as ministers and practitioners, and seeing it work its way into the world. For me, it's exciting, Michael, because it's transformative. You know, it's like you lead a group on Wednesday evenings called The Gathering, and people come in and you discuss this, and I've had the pleasure and opportunity to participate a couple times in those and watch how people, as lights go on in their head and warmth grows in their hearts, how they, in that moment, things change for them. And through changing for them, I believe it changes the world also. You know.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
So, and you've been a practitioner, a religious science practitioner, for a couple of years. How many?
1998.
1998.
Since 1998, yeah.
Yeah, so you got a couple of weeks under your belt.
A couple.
Yeah. And you know, I know we talked about it in one of the other shows, but as you worked and discovered New Thought, and you had the great, it's not a pleasure, it's just a great adventure to be with Michael Beckwith as part of his organization as you're going through your training and stuff. But when you made the choice to become a practitioner, and then you became a practitioner, how did that affect your life? You know, how did that affect your interaction with people and the world around you?
Well, the biggest benefit to becoming a practitioner is that I'm given the foundation of a philosophy and of an awareness that there is the truth, and that the truth is universal for everybody. And if for some reason things are left out, it's not really the truth, so to speak.
Yeah.
If someone is separate from the whole, the mass, the macrocosm of everything, then it's not the truth.
Right.
Because the truth is, God is all there is. And this one life, this one experience, this one mind, one power, one presence that we all are a thread of, a part of, is what's true. So the beauty of being a practitioner is to understand that very thing, that there is only one life, one power, one presence. And that we all come from that truth. We all come from that manifestation, that God continues to be itself and reveal itself as life and as you and me. And everything we see in life that comes from the universe is a unique idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that unique idea is complete in the mind of God. There's no deficit to it.
Right.
It is a beneficial part of the life experience.
Uh-huh.
And being a practitioner, what I continue to be fed and understand is what Reverend Michael teaches, is that we have the ability to be with God, to be one with God, to turn and to allow God to be the expression of who we are,
Right.
so that we can be a conscious, beneficial presence in our individual lives and in the lives of humanity. And so we're connected to our bank account.
There you
so
go.
to speak.
Yeah,
You know,
I
we don't
like
have to go write a slip out for a deposit.
Uh-huh.
There's this. We have a direct line
Mhm.
to the infinite supply in the bank,
That's it.
and it's called the presence of God.
That's
and
it.
and we get there by turning within and by recognizing our spiritual truth, our idea, recognizing God's vision for our life, and recognizing that we are all life,
Mm-hmm.
and that the world is not where we create. The world is where we see result of creation.
Exactly.
So we have the ability to turn within and create anew, to imagine anew, to discover anew, to reveal a new experience of God, and not just what we see in the world. What we
Right.
see in the world is sort of the feedback to what we need to turn within and create.
Right. It's the, we refer to it as the effects or the conditions.
Right.
Effects and conditions of what? Effects and conditions of the creative source and force demonstrating and manifesting in our physical material reality, but not in reality as a total. Because that infiniteness that we call God is everywhere present. And we understand, at least I understand, that it is a perfection. And it is such a perfect perfection that it can never at any time be anything less than that. Ernest Holmes says it's impossible for it to be anything less than, because then it would be something against itself. Essentially, you can't have perfect and non-perfect in an infiniteness, in a creativeness, and have it exist, because the imperfection ultimately will destroy the perfect part of it. That basic understanding changes the whole playing field, if you will. There's not a duality. There's a singularity. There's not a this and that, a good or bad. There's just this perfection we call God. But in the world, this outside world, that doesn't necessarily play out, because there's an intermediary between God and the outside world, and that's us. We play that intermediary role. And we bring to it, for good or ill, all the stuff that we carry within ourselves as our basic belief system. And as I work with people that come to this and they scratch the back of your head, you say one with God, they go, well, wait a second, isn't God, and God's just something out there, and when things get bad, we 911 God and hope that he picks up the phone. Notice it's a he and picks up the phone. And when you talk about God being, you're part of God, you're with God, that God is working through you, they go, well, what is that all about? Where's that come from? And it's really a very old consciousness. One of the things that Michael Beckwith often refers to is New Thought, ancient wisdom. And I don't know if he's the originator of that, but I think that's the first time I ever heard it was coming from him. Because it is an ancient wisdom, an ancient understanding that predates the traditional understanding of religion and God. But if you're one with God, because God is everywhere, that means God expresses as Michael J. Allen. That God is here demonstrating as Michael J. Allen. And when Michael J. Allen is interacting with life, there's something working through him that's also interacting with that life, that he can open himself up to, that he can, like you say, connect with. What do you think?
Well, I continue to recognize
Mm-hmm.
that the world is so stimulated by what it can see, what it can hear,
Mhm.
what it can touch, what it can feel, what it can actually understand in its senses.
Right.
And when I talk about the presence of God within you, the power within you, the intelligence within you, I'm talking about something you cannot see.
That's right.
You cannot touch. You cannot feel with the senses that we are given.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to recognize, for me, I try and really break it down for myself and for other people. The way to recognize God is to know thyself,
Mm-hmm.
know thyself, know the truth about all of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Know the truth of heart, know
Right.
the truth of soul,
Mm-hmm.
know the truth of thought,
Right.
know the truth of feelings and emotions, know the truth of beliefs.
Yeah.
If you don't know the truth about the multidimensional things that human beings are capable of and have available to them, if you don't understand all of that, you limit your awareness of God.
That's right.
The more you understand the truth of the wholeness of human beings
Mhm.
and practice from that awareness, be mindful of all of who we are as an individual expression of life, of God, of intelligence,
Right.
we become the master of our life. We become the one that has all the power necessary and available to us to think in most beautiful ways and create energy that follows dynamic thought, to have a complete dynamic relationship with feelings, that we are responding and sharing emotions in the most powerful, appropriate, healing way,
Right.
an effective way in the world, and we are creating beliefs that magnify a higher consciousness for ourselves and other people. All that from knowing that we have this dynamic individual, whole, perfect, and complete soul expressed through this energy called love. And if we open up to who we are as a soul being related
Right.
to spirit, to God, to
Mhm.
creation, to source, call it whatever you want, an
Right.
intelligence greater
Yeah.
than man, and we come from that, and we have this ability to become so connected to it that you cannot separate our expression from what God is.
That's it. Hold that thought. We're going to take our first break. We'll see you when we come back.
Sal Contreras of JC's Lawn Service is the go-to guy for all your lawn care and landscaping needs. Just call Sal at 559-978-7730.
Hi, Haven Young here. Join Mike Briggs and myself here at Central Valley Talk at 1212 North Van Ness the second and fourth Saturdays in June 11th and June 25th at Central Valley Talk, and find out more about the most nutritious plant on earth, Moringa oleifera, and we're going to be giving away a 6-day sample pack to someone that attends, and find out more about Moringa oleifera at our website, mostnutritiousPlant.com. Don't forget the hyphens in between. See you here, have some fun. Come on and find out about Moringa oleifera. It'll change your life.
Need a dentist? Call Dr. David Wright at 559-222-6213 or visit bitemedental.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back. It's New Thought Talk. My co-host for today is Michael J. Allen, and hopefully he's going to be my co-host often. So welcome back. Michael, before the break, we were talking about, explaining this infiniteness. And before we go forward, I'm going to let you pick up where you left off. But last week I think it was last week, I came across an article that was linked to me by my daughter, and I passed it on to you. I don't know, did you get a chance to read that?
No, I didn't get a chance to read
Okay, well, I'm going to give you the short version.
Okay.
And I'm not going to give names because I don't have
Maybe
it in
I
front
did
of me.
read it. I read so much of your stuff, I forget what.
Oh, I hope that's good.
It is good.
But
I mean,
But
I haven't read it all.
it's on a site called I think it's Collective Evolution is the site, and it was an interview done by someone that works for the organization, and they were interviewing someone that was either author of a book or talking about an author of the book that was entitled something like Stealing Einstein's Garden or something like that. But basically it's about physicists, the cutting edge leading physicists like Stephen Hawking and some of these other people, how they define and understand what we call creation. Mm-hmm. And in the article they presented two basic things. One of them is, well, what is just what is. There's nothing behind all of creation. It's just, at some point matter and stuff, universe came into being, and at some point this thing we call life came into being, as one school of thought. But the other school of thought, which was the main emphasis of the article, was an understanding what physicists are looking at when they look at the universe now. They're calling it undifferentiated consciousness. They're calling us and what we call reality differentiating consciousness that came from undifferentiated consciousness. Now, what I found really kind of, I'll just say, exciting about that is, again, I'm going to refer back to Ernest Holmes. He says, well, there's this one mind or one consciousness, and we are individualized aspects of that one consciousness. I'm going, that's pretty much kind of the same thing. Now, Holmes has been talking about that going back into the early part of the 20th century. Physicists are finally catching up with where we've been at spiritually. But as you were talking about this infiniteness and you're explaining this, it amazes me how much that we look at in New Thought, in the various sects or denominations, whatever you want to call it, that science is slowly and gradually coming to explain the things that we've been just looking at and explaining them in a spiritual way, So we've got someone that, Michael, I come from a background, God's this guy, sits in a chair, keeps a list, and you're telling me that God's everywhere and there's this soul stuff and this love stuff, pick it up from there and let's move forward.
Well, the truth. Let's go back to the truth.
Yeah.
God is intelligence and energy.
Yeah.
And energy completely transforms itself constantly all over the universe. So there's an intelligence in energy that can become more and all.
Right.
In the mind of man, we are limited to how we relate to thought. We are limited.
Uh-huh.
We are made in the image and likeness of energy,
Right.
of the intelligence that created the universe,
Right.
and we limit that intelligence with our limitation to understanding the power of thought and mind. Okay?
Yeah.
So if I'm made in the image and likeness of God, there is no limit to my mind. Zero.
Yeah.
I can create whatever I want to create. There's no limit if I'm made in the image and likeness of God.
Right.
So my point is this. If we keep thinking about the result of what's happening in the world, we move away from the power of who we truly are.
Exactly.
So we have to turn away from the world because what has been created is done. And if we want to transform anything in the world, we have to come back to the origin of who we are,
Right.
and create that which we can imagine in our mind, just like we are created in the mind of God. We create the world through our mind.
Exactly.
So isn't that amazing that we can look out there, and if we don't get caught in the world, we can stay here in a oneness with God and create a completely different reality. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want people to recognize how powerful that is. No matter what's happening out in the world.
Exactly. That's one of the things that excites me about this film. Whatever's going on out there is not necessarily pertinent to what we can see within ourselves to create a different what's going on out there. You know, you were talking about earlier in the last segment about, you know, what we see, hear, touch, and so on. You know, one of the things that, as I approach this, and I think we spoke of this before, that I look at this thing within the brain they call the fear mechanism, which we know a whole lot more about it today than we did when I was studying anatomy and stuff in the 1980s. But everything that is out here, as we take it in here, is filtered on some level through that mechanism. I don't even call it a fear mechanism anymore. I call it the filter of our external experience. It does create the fear emotions within us. It does create the fear, flight, or fight response within us. But it also is that within us which judges all our thoughts. It either gives it an up or a down. Okay, this is a safe thought. This is a fear thought. You know, and it controls our inner dialogue, if you will, to a certain extent, if we allow it to. And in science today, through the understanding of this thing they call neuroplasticity, we know that we can unhook connections in the brain and we can make new connections in the brain. It's kind of like pathways through brush. And if we walk this one pathway over and over, it stays wide and it's open. And if we start a new pathway, the first couple of times we go down that pathway, it's a little difficult, but we can open that one up. And if we leave this one behind, it'll close up. So we can, through this type of taking conscious control of what we're thinking, through what I call our spiritual practices like affirmations, meditation, journaling, and various other things, we can begin to change our thought patterns and the way that we, instead of reacting to the world, we respond to the world. And what we do is we take this part of our nervous system, this fear mechanism, if you will, and we remove it from being the master of our reaction and response to the world to being a cooperative part of our whole embodiment of the world without having that be the determining factor. And in doing that, it frees us up. Things that, you know, we used to, like the letter in the mail from someone that you don't want to hear from and that first fear response, you can look at that and have a whole different consciousness. If you have a consciousness of acceptance and love for whatever's in there, what are you going to create in your world around you? And this is, I think, what you're talking about is how we relate to the world. If we relate from a fear response versus if we relate from a love response. But we control how we do that.
Yeah, we do. And most importantly, the awareness of that we control the way we relate to the world, we are in control of how we do that.
Yep.
And it's important to practice being mindful of what is running through your mind, what is running through your energy,
Right.
because energy is intelligent.
It is.
And intelligence of energy is not personal. So if you are vibrating negative energy grows.
That's right.
If you are vibrating positive energy grows. Energy follows thought.
Right.
So with that basic principle from metaphysical teaching, that basic principle from science and understanding how we direct thought and direct energy following that thought is based on knowing who we are. So if in our life experience we are reacting to the world, to what we see going on in the world,
Right.
we're probably much more attached to our personality than our true soul, our true self. And if we can begin to identify when we are living in our personality and living in our soul,
Right.
we can make an even deeper conscious choice. Not that the personality isn't functional,
Right.
but there's a higher choice. There's a higher understanding of the direction we can go, or where the universe, the friendly, dynamic, incredible, all-inclusive one universe, is nudging us to participate in. We have free will.
Yes, we do.
We believe that our personality is right, so we follow our personality.
Exactly.
And when you follow truth, you expand the personality.
That's
When you follow personality, you lose some
Right.
touch with the truth. You may be in your truth, but you lose some touch with the truth
That's
because
right.
you're not coming from a soul perspective.
Michael, you told me a while back that you had the opportunity to spend some time at Guy Finley's church up in Oregon.
Oh man, I don't know if he called it church.
Or
It's,
center, whatever you
the
want to.
Life Learning Foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Powerful place.
something a phrase that I got from him that I really appreciate is when you talk about personality, what he calls, what oftentimes people call the ego, he calls the false self.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and ego has really so many definitions that, and some of them are positive and some of them aren't. But when we talk about the false self, that really is our external personality. It's this construct that we've created. You know, I'm male, I'm 60-some years old, I'm not going to get, you know, I'm good looking, I'm not good looking, I'm short, too tall, you know, whatever it is. I'm an African American, I'm an Anglo, Hispanic. And that is our false self. That is a construct that has nothing to do with the truth of who we are.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and as you say, and I really appreciate this when we share these concepts with people, that when you move away from the false self and embrace the truth of who you are, not only your whole life changes, not only the way you think, not only the way you interact, but there is a reality change that takes place in your life experience.
Yeah. Let's talk about that reality.
Let's hold that. We're going to, when we come back, we'll be talking about that reality that we create.
Realtor Letty Pinjatori is a broker associate with Keller Williams, and she is also a voiceover artist. Contact Letty at 559-281-4568.
I was an addict, an opiate addict.
Being 3 years clean in October.
I was renewed at the Fresno Rescue Mission. My mom, who does a lot of cooking, has been part of the rescue mission, has been willing to help teach people to make jams and jellies and other food.
Sa the Prison Rescue Mission, do tôi có考虑用贴有一路人家用，để có bắt đầu bé bắt đầu có贴，我想到。
And I believe that downtown Fresno needs a renewal as well.
Tree of Life Cafe represents new, healthy growth in downtown Fresno. I've seen men and women go through rehab programs. They want to start a new life. And yet when they get out on the street, they find it very difficult to get a job. Nobody will give them a chance. That's what this cafe is designed to do.
You will be like family to us. We will serve you our home-cooked food made with farm-fresh produce that comes from farmers right here in our valley.
We love downtown Fresno.
Pasture-grazed, delicious, nutrient-dense, 100% organic raw milk from Organic Pastures. Visit organicpastures.com or call 1-877-RAW-MILK.
Sunshine Natural Health in Tulare, California is your source for nature's best remedies. Call Sunshine Natural Health at 559-688-2063 and get healthy.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to a great show. Man, I'm having a good time with my friend Michael J. Allen, and we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to talk about this, creating this reality, shifting from our false self to our truth of soul truth, and what happens to that.
Well, so much is running through my mind, the collective things that I've been taught from, two people that I really embrace, and that is Guy Finley and Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the most beautiful things I learned from Guy's work is he really explains the power of opposites. That the false self, as we have identified, is significantly important to understanding the true self.
Mm-hmm.
But to know what the true self is, and to know when you're out of your true self, the false ideas, they appear.
Mm-hmm.
And Reverend Michael talks about that in different ways. But his bigger, this is what I think, he'll correct me if I'm wrong, his bigger understanding of the false self is when we live in victimhood. When we live in a place where the story of what has happened to us is more important than the ability to transform everything into
transcend it
into a creative, a completely different experience by renewing our mind, by turning within, by recognizing that what has happened to fuel a true nature of our being, and not to hang on to a false nature of our being.
Right.
And we have to understand that we are always in the ability to create. And that the true self is always available to create a truer experience, or an experience based on the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is an activity of things that happen when we are in alignment with God, when we are in alignment with the universe.
Right.
When we are in alignment with something, with that which created who we are.
Exactly.
Call it whatever you want.
Right.
But the energy that's expressing through you and me right now to allow us to talk in bodies,
right,
that's fascinating. That is fascinating that we are sitting here having this intelligent conversation in two different bodies from two different,
backgrounds, experiences.
But right here in this moment, we are God speaking to God.
Exactly.
That's fascinating to me.
And the beauty of that is when you come to this understanding, this soul truth understanding, when we're communicating, we're truly communicating.
Exactly.
When we step back into the false self, when you say something, I'm in okay, what am I going to say in response to that? How do I, do I agree with that? Do I disagree with it? Is he right or he's wrong? And we got all this judgment and all this stuff. Where when we step out of that in our communication, that's what we're doing. And at that level, it is the divine, communicating with the divine.
Right. The true self is seeing the true self.
Exactly.
As opposed to a black man seeing a white man.
Bingo.
Or a man seeing a woman, or a woman seeing a man, or a man seeing a child.
Wait a second, my falseness is man and woman.
Exactly. We have let the world, we have let what's appearing become more real than a deeper truth that we are experiencing together.
And that's, people live, and this is a generalization, but people live the majority of their life in this false self persona. And so everything, you talk about victimhood, everything is related to the external through judgment. And this is where, I talk about this filter mechanism. I look at, well, are you a threat to me, or are you going to support me? Are you a neutral issue? Do I need to discard you, or do I need to embrace you? Everything's judged on what you're going to do for or to me, or what negative effect or neutral effect you're going to have. When I step out of this, when I step out of that false self and I step into my true self, it's not what you can do for me. It's the unity and the oneness of the universality that we express and receive and experience. And that's never a negative. It's always building. It's always positive. And it's always in a creative space, But explaining that to people sometimes, I don't know, you like I said on the break, sometimes when you're talking, there's there's a glaze. They don't understand.
The best way to explain what we're talking about to people is to live it.
Yeah.
There is no pure thing that we could say using words that would catch a person's awareness and they live it as we see it. Mm-hmm. We can only, but they can feel the truth of our being if we are being that way, as people have felt with the presence of the Dalai Lama, or the presence of Mahatma Gandhi, mm-hmm. or being in this journey with Dr. Martin Luther King and being in the energy of transformation, as many people have. When you're in that energy, you resonate with that. So if you and I want to explain anything that we would encourage people to catch, as Reverend Michael taught so much, catch it. You know, put your hands open, put your heart open, put your awareness open to catch the truth, to catch an idea that's different than what you've been living, because you cannot be where you are and be somewhere else at the same time. So catch that right here is where you create whatever you want in the world, and make that more real than expecting something to happen without realizing who you really are. We have dreams that are not fueled with truth, is what I'm saying. We have dreams that a dream that is not fueled with truth is a dream that is filled with doubt and fear and worry and judgment and criticism. And we live in that consciousness that destroys the truth of our dreams.
And we're that doubt and that consciousness of the false self is what, through that little voice in the back of our mind, is telling us, well, you're not going to make it, or if this doesn't happen, you're never going to be happy, or if something outside of us doesn't fall into place, into lockstep, then, oh my gosh, I'm a victim again. And you know that the outside world is always going to do what it does, and it has nothing to do with whether I'm a victim or whether I'm whole and complete within myself.
You know, that's so true, and what Reverend Michael stresses so much in those teachings is that you have to catch yourself going down a negative alley with your thoughts and your thinkings, and you have to catch yourself when you are not living in truth. You have to catch yourself. So, you know, one of the things that I like to say is you have to give your soul permission to put you on pause.
I like that.
You know, if you have a relationship every day where you wake up and you say to your soul, please be in charge of the consciousness of my life today. I know that you are my higher being. You are the highest expression of who I am. You are, as I know I am, one with God expressing through me. So please put me on pause when I get too far from the truth. If you give your soul that permission, there will be times in your life, and you practice this, where you are put on pause before you make an expression in the world, so that you know you're making an expression in the world that comes from what you truly know. And your soul knows what you truly know. And so you get to have an opportunity through practice. You got to practice.
Exactly.
You got to practice. I mean, I can't give myself this tool and I not practice it. Because the repetition of that tool is what works in the world of effects.
Exactly. And that repetition, going back to something I said earlier, is that essential rewiring in our brain, how we're experiencing, to create a different new experience.
Yeah.
No, you don't think so? Huh?
No, no.
Okay.
I think great question.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's a rewiring, because that means that God gave us bad wiring in the beginning.
No, God didn't give us bad wiring.
In my mind.
Yeah.
So I see it as it is making the right connections.
Okay.
You know, I see it as recognizing that you have the wiring necessary, because you know, a victim. I could be the victim that says I don't have the right wiring. Or I'm not wired that way.
However, and here's the deal. We come basically wired with all the gifts that evolution created within us.
Absolutely.
And the primary thing is we interact with the world with a fight or flight interaction. You know, when I graduated from chiropractic college, we were told that babies come into the world with two fears. That's fear of falling and fear of loud noises. And that's probably true, but what they didn't know then, which neuroscience is telling us today, we come into the world wired for fear. And it makes sense if you think about it. If you go back to nature, everything in nature interacts with, they're either, for the most part, they're either predator or prey. So everything is based on that interaction with the world. When we come in, when humanity came into the point of consciousness, when we recognized the I amness of who we are, at that point, we're no longer subject to evolution, but we got all the tools that evolution brought to us. So, you know, you look at a baby, they come in, they're not like an animal comes in within a week, they got all the skills needed to experience life. A baby has to learn. And we come in with wiring that's not necessarily, it's not good or bad, it's just what is. Now, you can talk about the overlay of energy and experience that comes through what we call race consciousness or emotions that they're subject to in the womb and in the family experience and stuff like that. But we learn as we begin to grow and we develop our false self mechanism. It's not until we become aware that we have a power of choice. And in that point of power of choice, all those thought patterns that we've held within our mind that are basically a function of how the brain is wired, then we realize that we can change. When we change our thought patterns, we change the connections in our brain. Those old connections that didn't serve us, as we stop utilizing them, neuroscience tells us those old connections, they fall away. They begin to disconnect. And we reconnect to new ones that support us in a positive way, ones that allow us to realize. It's not like, we don't come in the world with an owner's manual. We don't come in with an instruction book. But God said, okay, here you go. You are everything that I can give you, and I'm waiting for you to discover me so that I can give you everything else that's out here. But you have to take the steps. You have to learn. You have to make that journey. And that's for me, that's what the journey of spirituality is. It's that uncovering, that self-realization of the truth of who we are. And when we begin to realize we are in the likeness and image, well, what does that mean? And we begin to discover and work that, and we see that there's something way more out here than what the false self tells us the world is all about. Now, I'll let you think on that. We're going to go to our break, and you can give me your answer when we come back. We'll see you then.
Great.
Clovis Bicycle is located at Bullard, Minnewawa, and Clovis near Dollar General. Featuring kids' bikes, cruisers, rotor mountain bikes, and now featuring a selection of recumbent bikes. Check them out at clovisbicycle.com or call 325-2453.
Hi, Haven Young here. Join Mike Briggs and myself here at Central Valley Talk at 1212 North Van Ness the second and fourth Saturdays in June 11th and June 25th at Central Valley Talk, and find out more about the most nutritious plant on earth, Moringa oleifera, and we're going to be giving away a 6-day sample pack to someone that attends, and find out more about Moringa oleifera at our website, mostnutritiousPlant.com. Don't forget the hyphens in between. See you here, have some fun, come on and find out about Moringa oleifera. It'll change your life.
Give your home and yard a facelift with Olivas Landscaping. Olivas Landscaping can make a tired yard look fresh again. Whether you need one-time or recurring service, repair, or a whole new design, contact Olivas Landscaping. Call Patrick Olivas at 273-0142.
Realtor Letty Pinjatori is a broker associate with Keller Williams, and she is also a voiceover artist. Contact Letty at 559-281-4568.
Need raisins? Call National Raisin Company at 559-834-5981 or online at nationalraisin.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back. Man, we've been hitting it hot and heavy. Michael's going to pick up where we left off. We're going to talk about, knowing about the brain and stuff as we create our lives. And I want you to share with me the things you shared in the intermission.
Well, what comes up from your earlier share is Guy Finley did a talk a few years back called "Have You the Courage to Be Free?" Mm-hmm. Do you have the courage to be free?
Right.
And he's very good at teaching about letting go of fear, because fear is important, but the attachment to it keeps us from seeing what's really true. Mm-hmm. So he has powerful ways of communicating how the importance of fear is a great tool for understanding truth and having courage, and
Right.
that courage comes from our soul. So he does on one of these talks, he talks about original equipment, and he tells it in the story of three or four eagles that through other life forms have been talked into having things attached to themselves that affect their original equipment, like a flight suit, a flight bag, goggles. You know, if eagles use these tools to learn how to fly and find fish,
Right.
they would be handicapped.
Uh-huh.
They would be, and these things are not original equipment.
Right.
And so many of us have come into the world, let me be very clear on this, we've come into a world where experiences from the time we start to take physical form become the effect on the parts of us that are original equipment.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what that looks like is a baby is in a mother, and the mother is going through domestic violence. That
Right.
baby will experience that.
You bet.
Mother is having thrills and having a wonderful, loving pregnancy. Baby will feel that.
That's right.
When baby's born, whatever projections are placed on that baby when it's born, baby will feel.
Right.
Whatever's said to that baby, baby will take on.
Mhm.
So the world has an effect on us that we have to take tools of original equipment,
Right.
thoughts, feelings, and emotions,
Mhm.
and use to determine what's true and what's not true based on our senses, our thoughts, our brain, and how we understand our brain, our heart, our body, and mind. Brain is not mind. Brain
No.
and mind are two different things.
Exactly.
And the more we understand this original experience of who we all have feelings, we all have emotions, we all have belief systems, we all have thoughts. Once we understand how to mindfully manage all of those original parts of ourselves,
Right.
we can see the beauty in everything in life. Everything. Every tragic, every magnificent, every negative, every positive. We see the wholeness of it.
And that's a great discovery when we make that discovery.
Right.
But it's a big leap for most people to take.
It starts with the littlest things.
Exactly.
It's not a big leap when you start with the littlest things. And the littlest thing to start with is to recognize that we all come through life the same way. We all come from one source. Doesn't matter gender, doesn't matter religion, it doesn't matter.
No,
We
it
all
doesn't.
come from one intelligent source. We come through mother, through life, that way, and we all have this beginning experience. And everyone has a unique way that they are going to express in the world, but they all come from the same source. So if we can remember that we're all one energy coming into life the same way, and that what's happening in the world has a different effect on all of us,
Right.
we can, if we just have that awareness, we can have more acceptance and more compassion for the human experience, because life is a trip. Let's be honest. Life is a trip. It just is. I mean, this is an amazing experience.
It is.
And we aren't all taught how to get through it in the most magnificent ways. We
No.
stumble and fumble our way
Exactly.
through. But everything, absolutely everything we need to have a dynamic, incredible, successful life is already implanted in our system. Period.
That's right.
And we just have to recognize that collectively, so that when babies are coming into the world, we all radiate that truth, and not what happened to me.
Yeah.
This is the way it was
yeah.
for me.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah, it was the way it was for you, but you didn't like it then. So why are you letting that?
Yeah.
be
Why are
the
you,
level?
perpetuating the
Yeah.
grief?
Why are you being mediocre with that
Yeah.
behavior? Why not be magnificent or amazing, and be different for the new life that's coming in,
That's
so
it.
that it has this mirror that reflects to it. You have everything within you. You are amazing. You have the power to create worlds. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You are my child. I am your father, your mother. I mean, to have that excitement throughout their life. Can you imagine the mind of a child who had that much enthusiasm and love and truth projected upon them early in life? They might think they're Superman by the time they're in middle school.
There you go. And the tragedy is they could.
Yes.
They don't because the world is tied into the false self-creative, paradigm.
And we don't know how to overcome the fear.
And Michael, too,
we let the fear run us.
We look at the big picture. I mean, how many times we got to look at the big picture. It's not the big picture. It's the small picture, the one picture, the one. You talk about mindfulness, and this is where mindfulness takes over. This is where being in the here and now, this place, in this space, in mind and soul, and knowing that this is my PowerPoint. This is where I make a difference in the world right here. And as I do that, as I do it here, as I do it in mindfulness, as I do it in this space right here, as you do it in that space where you're at right here, right now, that's where the world changes.
Yes.
And most people don't know that.
No, they don't.
They want to,
They're waiting on it to change on CNN.
Yeah,
They're waiting to see the changes on the network.
Yeah, exactly.
And the network is not nearly as powerful as your own internal network. Souls know what souls need.
Yeah.
We all come into this world whole, perfect, and complete.
Yeah.
And if we are taught that, live that, and people around us are expressing that, we have a mind and a body and a soul that flourishes in a most dynamic way. But when we are just projecting on to young minds, young souls, what has happened in the past,
right,
and not the possibility of the future, they are limited in our consciousness until they grow and break free and find that their original equipment is just as magnificent as ours. And there's no deficit within them.
That's right.
And it can only be considered a deficit because it's defined by the world of appearances.
We
and
have
not the truth of
we
who
have
we
to
are.
break the old mold.
Absolutely.
We got
we don't have to break the old mold. Breaking the old mold means we got to get up the energy to break something. No, let the mold let the mold be what it is, because when we really, really magnify the truth, everything else dissipates because we're not putting our vibration and our focus and our energy on it. We don't have to get mad at what has happened or
no.
We don't have to correct anything. The imperfections and the things that I have done wrong, they don't need to be corrected. They just need to be recognized, and then I need to take that and create something greater. That's it. I don't have to turn around and go, well, I got to get rid of this. I got to let this go. I got to get this out of my mind. No, I don't. I need to just focus on that, the feedback that this experience gave me. This experience did not work. It did not fulfill me. It did not fulfill the life of others. It had nothing good within it. I learned from that. I see what it is I need to add, communicate, or do differently. I do that, and now in this moment, I transform that awareness into something new, greater, and better than ever before. And it could be just one minor change to make it greater. It doesn't have to be significant, but that one minor change is magnified in the universe because now I'm being pulled in a direction that I'm so created to be in. You know what I mean?
Yes, there is. I like to say there's a divine urge that's within each and every living being. Each and actually within everything, because everything is life on some level. But there's a divine urge to express. And we cloud and cover and limit that through the things we've talked about today. One of the things that in talking to people when they come to me and everybody brings their history or her story, they got all their stuff, and this is my baggage, and they want to lay it out. And one of the things I tell them, the two most powerful words in the English language is I am. Or I am, okay? Whatever follows I am it's going to have an effect, okay? But what I teach is the second two most powerful words in the English language is so what? When you bring your story and you want to hang your victimhood on that, if you can turn around and say, so what? I am. So what? I am in the likeness and the image. I don't have to live my baggage. So what? Now, it's kind of humorous, but it makes people stop and think. When we get into our victimhood, if we can just go, so what? Sometimes we've got to do it harshly. Sometimes we've got to do it lovingly. But if we can get to that point within ourselves, we now have a foundation from which to build on. Because I'm not going to let this own me. This no longer has power over me. There may be lessons to be learned, but there's no power in that. This is where I'm at.
I used to play a lot of tennis. I used to teach a lot of tennis. And I'm proud of this one student I have. His name is Tony Warwick. He's one of my best friends. Taught Tony how to play tennis. Tony's like one of those cats who's a natural athlete, you know.
Yeah.
You give him an idea and he can go for it. And me and Tony became real tennis partners. And, you know, one day Tony sat me down and he said, man, look, man, you know, I know I'm good enough to beat you. I don't understand why, you know, after playing with you all this long, I haven't beaten you yet, you know. And I said to him, I said, you know, Tony, there was a time where you used to get really frustrated because you missed the ball or you missed the shot. And then all of a sudden you got to the point where you realized, I got another shot. And you never got frustrated about missing a shot anymore. You always thought, I got another shot. And that was your philosophy. And I says, if you want to beat me, then first start with you already have. Bingo. Because I don't know what else to teach you, man. I'm keeping you off of me.
Yeah, there you go.
Your game has gotten so good.
Yeah.
And he says, all right, all right. and then it became hard to beat him because he knew how to close and finish and let his attitude around that practice of I get another opportunity, I'm in another moment, I have another chance to hit another ball, I get a second serve. When he started thinking that way, which was very, very easy for him, it became very, very hard for me to beat him from then on because his game went to another level. His consciousness expanded.
And where did that all happen?
It all happened in the game called tennis.
It all happened
inside of him.
Yeah.
Inside of him.
And that's it.
Exactly.
And that's where the game happens.
Looks
like we're about out of time. First off, Michael, I'm looking forward. We're going to continue this.
Yes, we are, Rev.
There's stuff that came to my mind from today that we got a lot to do. So I'm going to close out like I usually do. As you go through this week, I want you to remember that the light of God surrounds you, no matter where you're at, and the love of God enfolds you, because God is everywhere. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Because truly, no matter where you are, God is there. All is well. Have a great week, my friends. We'll see you when we come back. Look forward to talking to Michael some more. Take care. Bye.
At Central Valley Talk, we've chosen Select Business Systems to provide for our copy, print, and scanning needs. We used to think it was cheaper to purchase our own toner and maintain our own office equipment. But now, with the expertise and experience of Select Business Systems, our office workflow is running at peak performance, saving our company time and money. They've truly set us up with our new sharp multifunction copier, streamlining our office with the press of a button. To find out how you can improve your office technology, call Select Business Systems at 446-0123 or visit their website at selectsharp.com.
This segment was brought to you by Pro Travel Network Fresno. For all your vacationing planning, call Jennifer Rogers at 559-317-6735.
Hi, Haven Young here. Join Mike Briggs and myself here at Central Valley Talk at 1212 North Van Ness the second and fourth Saturdays in June 11th and June 25th at Central Valley Talk, and find out more about the most nutritious plant on earth, Moringa oleifera, and we're going to be giving away a 6-day sample pack to someone that attends, and find out more about Moringa oleifera at our website, mostnutritiousplants.com. Don't forget the hyphens in between. See you here. Have some fun. Come on and find out about Moringa oleifera. It'll change your life.
CentralValleyTalk.com